Hello everyone, and welcome back to Intoxicus Flanging. My name's Graham, and as always, I hope you remember to be pal. Today we're going to be talking about how the PC versus console debate is most likely going to wind up changing and shifting with the release of the next-gen consoles. With the next-gen console hardware, just the whole meta is going to shift now that they finally have solid-state drives instead of regular hard drives. And there's a lot that could have changed beforehand, if not for consoles being slow to update on solid state drives. Like, I feel like the PS4 Pro could have had a solid state drive based model. I think they could have figured that out. Prices were coming down enough. I think they could have had a solid state edition PS4 Pro or Xbox Series X, and they didn't, and I think it held PC gaming back. I think it held all gaming back because now the thing is, and I've had devs say this directly, is they have to kind of design for the lowest common denominator. They have to design for whatever the weakest thing will be and then scale up from there. So if the weakest things all have hard drives, they have to design for hard drives, and that's why we have fucking massive installs like over 200 gig for Call of Duty, because they're duplicating data to make it easier for hard drives to find. So just for that as starters, if it weren't for consoles being stuck on solid state drives, we'd have way smaller install sizes on PC. And the thing is with PC, what they could have done but hasn't been done is they could have had it so that there was solid state specific installs for players. So you're installing whatever installing Call of Duty Modern Warfare on a goddamn speaking. Installing Call of Duty Modern Warfare on a PC, getting that combination of syllables out of my mouth. You're installing that on a PC, and you have a solid state drive. They could, if they wanted to put the effort in to do it, give you an option for a solid state install or a regular hard drive install so it doesn't install all the duplicate data you don't need on a solid state drive. They could do that, but they don't see it as worth their time and effort to do so, even though I think it would be. So just right away, just with the solid state drive stuff, we're not really going to talk about much more than the solid state drive because that's really the biggest factor here. But just before we get into anything else, just the install sizes could be radically improved for PC if they just took a little bit of time and extra to give us two different versions of the install. Or what I see is going to be happening probably next year. I don't see it taking until 2022, but it could take that long. But within the next year or two for PC games, it will become standard to have the minimum system requirements say solid state drive. I will bet money on that. Like, I'll bet large amounts of money that will happen within 2. If it takes it 3, that would shock me. So 2022 at the latest. If it took until 2023, I'd be shocked. But the thing is, if devs have to program to accommodate regular old hard drives, it just limits them and holds them back too much. They don't want to. Well, they're not going to want to anymore, and that's the thing is, now this is going to get squirrely with the PC versus console debate, because until now, consoles have been holding PCs back, just in terms of solid state drive, not to mention other features that PCs are further ahead with, that consoles are just now catching up to. Ray tracing is a good example. Well, maybe not the best example, but there's stuff where PC gets ahead, and then other games catch up, like just 4K, 60 FPS, 120 FPS, just stuff like that. That's more fundamental. Are much better examples where PC's been doing that for a long time. Console could have caught up, but only now are they. And the slowness of console to catch up has actually held back gaming overall, because PC is trying to rocket ahead and do all these cool things. Then the games aren't doing much of these cool things because consoles don't support it, and the devs just either they don't see the value in it, or they literally just don't have the time and resources to be able to implement all this extra stuff for people. Which might be maybe the devs want to, but their corporate overlords are like, nah, we don't want it. We don't see the profit in it. Even though it probably wind up getting them more PC sales if they actually supported more of this advanced cool stuff. Or at least that's my own opinion. Anyway, so now that consoles are bringing in solid state drives, we've got something now it's going to change up a whole bunch because now we don't need all this redundant data. Things are going to be faster. All these things PCs could have been doing years ago are now going to be happening. But now people are going to be like, oh, but now consoles are the thing. And it's like, well, actually, if we look at the bigger picture, it's just not that simple. Yes, consoles are now bringing this stuff in, but it could have existed before and been in development before and be a lot further ahead if consoles hadn't held it back. So it's a mixed bag. Yes, consoles are now bringing this up and they're bringing this ahead and they're innovating. Yes, now they are, but we can't forget about the past where they were holding this back. But this does in the whole bigger console PC debate, and I do favor PC before anything else, but that doesn't make me hate on consoles. I've got a PS4 Pro, I've got 2 Nintendo Switches, a Switch Lite and a regular Nintendo Switch. I'm going to be getting a PS5 and a Series X, and mostly what fucking speaking today, what held me back from just owning one of every console is money, really. But I'm kind of a weirdo. I want everything I can get. Just PC is my top priority. If I had to choose any one platform, PC, no questions asked. Just no debate, no questions. PC first for me. But that doesn't mean I'm going to shit on consoles. I gotta say that before we get too much further. And it's important to say that because I'm not coming from a perspective where I'm like, oh, PC is the best. I might think so, but I don't want to be like, oh, PC's best. I get all PCMR and that shit, but it's a joke to me. I mean, kind of more of a 3/4 joke. Sometimes I'm a little bit serious about it, but not that much. But, the whole PCMR thing, it's a fun in-joke to me, and it should be to everyone else. People that take that shit seriously, don't. It's not meant to be taken seriously. Or it was never intended to be, at least. Anyways, don't want to get too sidetracked here. It's just, I do favor PC, but not to the point where I'm going to get irrational or illogical or unreasonable about consoles. And, I'm trying to be as objective as I can about the bigger picture of how things are changing and where they were in the past. Because in the past, it was like until last kind of the mid-gen refresh of last generation, it was like PC always wins, no questions asked. And until they started supporting 4K, it was just like, well, you guys don't even have 4K. You're barely getting 1080p 60 FPS when you do get 60 FPS at 1080p. But then they finally came to 4K, but it's not a real 4K. It's got all this dynamic resolution scaling, which is great, don't get me wrong, but I feel like it's a little bit of false advertising to be like, oh, 4K without, making sure to add in the caveat that there's dynamic resolution scaling. So it should be 4K with DSR, or DRS. I forget what acronym they use, or initialism. I forget what initialism they use for dynamic resolution scaling, if it's DSR or DRS. For some reason I want to say it's DSR that they say. Anyways, not that important what the specific acronym is just for this discussion. So yeah, anyways, like, with console, yeah, you're getting 4K at 30 FPS with dynamic scaling. And then, they're talking about 8K and it's not really 8K. And yeah, so it's, and I'm not trying to shit on consoles, but, these Sony and Xbox do have to be a little bit more clear and upfront and not misleading about how they state 4K 60 FPS and all these things. So, anyways, I do feel like we're getting a little bit sidetracked and tangential. It's just what I'm trying to get at is both PC and console have their pluses and minuses, and they each have their place and their purpose, and they can all coexist peacefully. It doesn't have to be console versus PC, but each platform does need to be honest about its limitations and its drawbacks. Like, PC is expensive, it's more prone to crashing and having annoying complicated issues because it does so much more, and that is a drawback. But I think it's not that bad of a drawback because of how much more you can do on a PC besides game. But we're getting into sidetrack territory. That's not really what we're here to talk about. We're not here to have the PC versus console debate. We're here to talk about how it's going to change, but we do need to kind of identify what some key points of what the debate has been over time too. So anyways, what I'm trying to get at is things are shifting so that instead of PC being like outright dominant, almost no matter what, now things are going to be a little bit more balanced. And this is going to make things very interesting. But if we think about how and why things are getting more balanced, well, the consoles are becoming more and more like PCs. The Xbox Series X looks like a fucking Corsair 1 because they borrowed, to be nice, from their design. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's great. I think eventually it's going to come to a point where PC and consoles are going to be not necessarily too far away from each other, and it'll really become more about consoles are more limited and less expensive, and PCs do more but are more expensive, and then other than that, there won't be too much of a difference. I think that's kind of the end point where eventually they'll kind of pretty much have more or less the same capabilities, and it'll be more about cost and do you want to go all out extreme with your graphics or not. And that's really what the PC console difference should be, is PC should be just, oh, you got to go even crazier with the graphics, and consoles are just more limited, but not in a significant way, like with the hard drive versus SSD thing where that's a big deal. I think all those big discrepancies and disparities will disappear over time, and eventually this PC versus console debate will become a moot point, and it'll just depend on what your preference is. Especially with the way Xbox is going with the Xbox Game Pass, where pretty much anything on an Xbox you can get on a PC, which is amazing. I love it. They just need to catch up with like Gears of War being on PC, so I can catch up on that series. But I could maybe just do that on the Series X instead. So we'll see how that goes. All that. Sorry, just adjusting something I'm being OCD about that's not perfectly level. Anyways, forgive me for that. I could be ADHD like that, very much so. I'm sure anyone who's watched a lot of my content has noticed by now. Anyways, so more what I'm thinking is this is a huge step forward in that evening and balancing of PC and console, where they're becoming more and more similar to each other in many, many ways. Hell, just look at the PS5 size. And people joking about the PS5 looking like a router or an Alienware PC, which is why I put the picture of the Alienware PC in there, just to kind of try and highlight that they're all kind of becoming more similar. And also PCs, like I got a big full-size tower. There's lots of room for big full-size towers and all that, especially if you're into water cooling. But like high-performance PCs are getting smaller. Just all around, they're just getting smaller. You can get a very powerful PC in a very small form factor that just wouldn't have even been a consideration a decade ago. At least for how much power you could fit in there. It's just we're getting better at making things smaller, and just with the progress of technology, we're getting more efficient, we're getting better at making them smaller, and that's huge. That's getting us a long ways. The only thing we're lacking, a bit of a tangent, is more applicable to the Nintendo Switch really, is battery power. We need better batteries, and that's a whole different topic. It's just because it's kind of tangential related to what I just said. Gotta just throw it out there because I feel this is an idea that needs to get into people's heads, and we need to get thinking about it. Is we need better battery capacities, and that's the thing. That's a big thing holding back all technology, is better battery capacities. We could have fucking insane portable computers if we just had the batteries to support it. We could have portable PS5s and Xbox Series X's if we just had the battery life to support it. And that's the thing, is the battery capacity to support portable technologies is holding portable technologies back. And yeah, anyways, that's a tangent, but something to think about is that we don't need better power efficiency, we need better batteries. If you want a portable version of a PS4 or PS5, we need better batteries. Anyways, not quite the topic at hand, but somewhat tangentially related. Anyway, so I think mainly with this generation, it's going to be the SSD advancement that's going to change a lot of things. I think they're getting too far ahead of themselves with 8K as a marketing gimmick thing for them to really talk about it more, other than be like, come on guys, quit throwing marketing gimmicks at us like that. Most people aren't going to be that hyped about 8K yet. Wait for the mid-gen refresh to get excited about 8K. That's yeah. So, but I'm like the freaking, I mean, down to the hardware they're using. They're just customized PC hardware. Like it's not back in the day it'd be specialized hardware just for the console. And now, and it's been something progressing over time, is that instead of making specialized things just for the console, they're just taking PC hardware and customizing it for the purpose they need. Which kind of leads into cooling is going to be something that potentially holds back consoles, as we're probably going to see with the PS5 more so this generation. I think the Xbox Series X has an excellent cooling solution, but like I was talking about in a previous video, yeah, I don't have cards till I hit 1,000 subscribers and all that, so I can't have a little card to link to that video. Maybe at the end screen I'll try and slip it in there for you guys. But there is a video I did about the PS5's cooling might be holding back its performance, and that's something PCs, they got that locked down with AIOs and all this stuff, but you can't really do all that with consoles. So that's going to be an interesting factor that's going to come up over time, is that the cooling solutions are going to be holding consoles back because of the size form factor they want to fit into, and that's also a problem with small form factor PCs. Is you just generally expect them to run hot. Like, you're not going to expect them to run as cool as a full-size desktop where you can just fit more in and have more airflow and just make all the cooling airflow stuff work better. So consoles have to deal with that kind of limitation in ways PCs often don't have to. And that's going to be a factor when it comes to performance, because you can get so much more performance if you can cool it better. So that'll become a factor. But I think the biggest one is really going to be the SSD. Because you could have all equivalent, like all the hardware the same. You have 3 consoles with all hardware the same. One has an HDD, one has an SSD that's just like whatever, and then some has like a really high-end, PCIe 4.0 SSD. We're not even going to talk about PlayStation 5's fancy stuff that I got to see it to believe it. I'll leave it at that. So like, the hard drive that's going to suck. That's going to hold all that hardware back. The regular mediocre SSD that's like, it's an SSD, but it's not that great. That'll be a huge improvement over the hard drive, but only to a certain extent. You get to a nice high-end, let's say even PCIe 4.0 SSD, and now you're really talking, because that SSD can wind up bottlenecking your hardware. Because the thing is, when you're, the game has to process all this data to know what to render and all this stuff, has to pull that off your disk drive. Whether disk drive as a term is probably going to fade away in the coming years. So if it's a hard drive, that's going to be real slow. If it's an SSD, it's going to be fast. If it's a really nice SSD, it's going to be really fast. So what it does is it loads all that data to RAM, then reads it from RAM. And that's where that bottleneck happens mostly, is reading it from RAM. But what if your SSD actually winds up fast enough that you don't always have to load data to RAM and you can just go straight from the SSD? I know I'm talking shit here. There's going to be technical people who are like, okay, dude, wait. There's that you can't say that. I know. I'm oversimplifying things. Just to get the idea across. I'm not saying it actually would work like this. Just to get the idea across to people. Just being I'm at that Dunning-Kruger level where like I mostly know how much I don't know, but there's also a lot I don't know that I don't know. Anyways, just I realized how, yeah, I just don't want to have too many technological people being like, oh dude, that simplification was terrible. I know it is. Just when I go that simple, I know how bad it is. Not bad, but how oversimplified it is. Anyways, so that's that oversimplified SSD kind of being able so fast to skip RAM is kind of towards the direction of what the PS5 SSD is trying to do, where it's so fast, or supposedly so fast, you don't really have to worry about load times and stuff like that. And I'll see it when I believe it. But, at the same time, on PC with an SSD, I've got load times so fast that, like, I don't even get to read the tooltips in some games. Like, literally, those tooltips that are actually tell you useful things sometimes, don't get them. I've had games where I've missed out on those little, like, gameplay tips where it's like, oh, you should do this. Didn't even get to see them. And then I was lost on some, aspect of the game. I was like, oh, shit, the thing that would have told me what to do, I never got to see because the load screen went so fast. So, there is that potential to have ultra fast load screens. Just to the extent Sony's making their claims, I can't help but be skeptical. But when it comes to load times in general, you are, yeah, shitty, crappy load time screens, those are going to go by the wayside. But not because of Sony's fancy SSD shit, just because SSDs are that fast. So that's the thing. Is just I'm worried Sony's overplaying how crazy its SSD is to try and overcompensate for the lesser performance in the Series X, which I suspect their performance could be better if they had a better cooling solution. I think they could have equivalent performance to the Series X easily if they just got more innovative about their cooling solution. But we'll have to see what their cooling solution looks like. Anyways, a little bit more sidetracked, and we should start wrapping up here. Anyways, so let me know what you think. This is kind of like a preliminary thing. I do want to follow this up with more more discussion on this kind of topic about how the PC versus console debate is going to shift. But there's some things we can't really know too much until there's more development and we actually start getting things in our hands and just getting more information. So this is kind of a preliminary thing, just get people thinking about this kind of topic and be like, how will this change? And it will change in favor of consoles. But I don't think consoles are ever going to wind up just outdoing PCs or outplacing them. I think we're going to reach a balance point, and where they're kind of equivalent, and it's really just between your preference and your financial capability and more of that kind of thing. And let me know what you think. How do you think the PC versus console debate is going to change with the new releases and the new technology and all that stuff? Do you think it's going to change at all? Do you think it's going to double down? I mean, I've already seen console people getting a little bit not less than optimal about the new stuff in some kind of toxic ways. So you think it's going to shift so that there's complaints about people being toxic about PCs being better. Now do you think we're going to have more toxic commentary about consoles being better? Let me know what you think in the comments. Hop into a live stream and get some discussion going in the chat there, or hit me up on social media, on the Twitter or the Facebook or the Instagram. Let me know what you think. As always, I'm all up for respectful and healthy debate and discussion. And yeah, excuse me, had a little gut moment there. I'm super interested to know what you think, what your opinion is. Oh, my gut right now giving me a little bit of trouble. Anyways, what you think, what your opinion is. I'm super curious. I want to get some debate and discussion going. Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think I'm right? Somewhere's in the middle. Flange it up. Let me know. Just please be respectful. And with that, also, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button. That should be over there somewheres, and that little notifications bell. I don't know what I was doing with my finger there. I'll blame that gesture mistake on autism. I actually am autistic, by the way. That I can make that joke. Yeah. Oh yes, if you like, give me that thumbs up. If you don't like, my arm all awkwardly wrapped around my mic fucking arm. If you don't like it, give me a thumbs down. But if you give me that thumbs down, please do me a favor and give me some constructive criticism and feedback, and try and help me improve. And if anything, stumbling over my words, please give me some detailed feedback. Try and be more specific, something like you're too negative can be hard to understand. Be more specific instead of being just as an example, instead of saying you're too negative, give me specific examples, you were too negative at this point here, because it's not bad feedback, it's just not specific enough for me to be able to really work with it, is what I'm getting at. So if you do give me that feedback, just try and be a bit specific about what exactly needs to change. Broad, undefined feedback is just hard to work with that sometimes. And of course, as always, please be respectful. And I'm not going to really look at the feedback if you're insulting me and all that. Anyways, before we wrap up here, just a quick shout out to the patrons. I don't know. I have a little brain moment with that for some reason. I want to say Patreon and Patron at the same time, and my brain just gets silly. I don't know. brains be like that. So thank you for my Patreons or my Patreon supporters. Much thanks to you guys. And of course, a super special extra thanks to the Valve Index GoFundMe supporters. Valve Index wouldn't be possible without you guys. Because I took a risk. Or wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Just I can't thank you guys enough. It's just yeah, it means so much to me that anyone was willing to support me in this at all like that when I'm so new and unproven and all that. And it's kind of a risk, even like yeah, I'm taking some risks here which I think will pay off. Oh yes, I just wanted to say about the Valve Index GoFundMe. That's still open. It's still collecting donations. It's a very large expense for where I'm positioned currently, and I made it happen, but I still got bills to pay and shit that are going to be a bit behind until I get all caught up and get this sorted out. So the GoFundMe is still open. You can still make donations if you want to be on the supporters list. And you want your name actually mentioned, you just need to let me know what name you want mentioned. I'm just doing my best to respect privacy on that. And I believe that is everything. Just super extra special thanks again to the GoFundMe donors. I can't thank them enough. I wind up at a loss for words. I'm just like, I just can't thank you guys enough. It blows me away. It's just yeah, I'm just so incredibly thankful I even have this opportunity with the Valve Index. Anyways, I'm running over for time like I'm terrible for. Um, so it's a good time to wrap this up and have a good one, and remember to bring a towel.
Intoxicus.